Welcome to the rabbit hole that is reality, where we aim to engage, to inform and to inspire, with social commentary and topical talk of the last few weeks goings on, which really should have us asking questions. Discoveries, mysteries, strange tales and much, much more. We're here to find out what really is going on in our world today. Rabbit hole that is reality.co.uk is the place to go, where every episode produced so far is available to listen, to watch and to download. You can also like and subscribe to us, such as on iTunes, where we have a 5-star rating. You'll find us on YouTube. You'll also find us on the likes of TalkShoe and many, many more. So please subscribe to us. Don't forget, listen in live every Thursday on the UK Collapse Radio Network, where you can listen to our premiere broadcast every Thursday, 8 PM sharp, on the UK Collapse Radio Network. That's ukcollapseradio.com. Don't forget to listen in to some of the other great shows that are available on the UK Collapse Radio Network. You have Adam's Musings. I love the guy. Been there on the streets. He's out there. He's talking to the people and some of his fantastic stuff that he's got going on. Chris Morgan, such an energy. Ginger Snaps, such a funny show. But you know what? It's really, really on the ball. It's really, really grassroots. It's talking to the people who are actually making a difference out there. I love the guy's attitude. He's like a brother of another mother. You have the main show, UK Collapse Radio Show. Obviously with Mark, with Ali, or with Lee. Always good. That's on a Wednesday and a Saturday. Venus Project Show, Scriptonite Daily, and many, many more. I've got to say, make sure you listen to them all. And if not, make sure you podcast them. Listen back on the way to work, on the way home. Just put it on in the background while you're having your tea. It doesn't matter. Just listen to it. It's great stuff. We're going to keep the energy rolling tonight. We're going to keep the buzz going on all the way through the show, because I want you to go away feeling informed, feeling engaged and feeling inspired, because that's why we're here tonight at the rabbit hole that is reality. So perhaps something I should definitely go into is a conversation that I had, and it went on for hours, because we really did explore so many different digressions and avenues of it. Is isms. That's right, isms. So many isms happening right now. We're going to talk about the rise of hipster Marxism. Also this week I saw that they've published the list of the richest people in the world. The wealthiest 85 people have as much money as those of the poorest 3.5 billion people in the world. That's terrifying. But it's not the full story, is it? Because I guarantee you there's people missing off that list. Also, we got a judge affirming that there is a 100-mile non-constitutional border around the United States. That's right, all the way around the outside of the United States there is a border where there is no constitution in effect. We take to the internet. I want you to go search a term called dropout Jeep. Dropout Jeep. I want you to go and search it up. If you got an iPhone, you should definitely look into this. And the global media mission arrives in the UK to investigate press freedom. The NHS is seeking to move all your medical records to a central database, which will then be sold on, even to private insurance companies. We teach you and show you how to opt out of doing so. And we're going to tell you a number of ways to improve your relationships and make you happy and those around you, and that people will appreciate it. All this and more coming up on the rabbit hole that is reality tonight. So let's start with a discussion about a discussion. That almost sounds like a bit like an oxymoron, really, but the truth is what happened is I met a guy yesterday, he happened to be a customer. He was arguing about the use of carry bags in supermarkets. If you don't know where I work, basically I work in this US-owned supermarket. I won't tell you what one because I'm not allowed to, but you've probably guessed what it is already just by me saying that. Anyway, so he was arguing about the use of carry bags. He was getting all passionately, and basically he was calling the fact that in the UK we give them away, yet we constantly put them behind the checkouts and therefore not let the customer have them. Therefore that's hypocritical. And he says, if Islam ruled the world, and Islam will rule the world, everyone will have everything equally. Everything will be distributed equally. So I asked him more about this, and and then I found out he had some interesting points of view, which we actually happen to share. But he says the way to solve the world, there is only one way to solve the world, and that is Islamic Economics. I have to say it's a term I've never heard before, and he has invited me to talk to him. He actually owns a market store. He runs it not far from the store, and he's invited me to go down and have a chat with him and have a discussion with him into an interview, which may end up here on Rabbit Hole It's Reality. Now, what he was putting across, what he was forwarding, didn't sound that dissimilar from the likes of what the Zeitgeist movement has been promoting, and the Venus Project, and a resource-based economy, and that is the fact that resources can be distributed equally, food can be distributed equally, wealth can be distributed equally as well. He then went on to belittle how we have a corrupt capitalist system here that is seeking to destroy the world by way of oil and by money, and we have greedy bankers and so on. He was using all the buzzwords that everyone right now is certainly on the ball with and raising the flag of the red flags about them. And certainly one that I can agree with, and certainly one that many people will actually agree with. Whether it is by the way of a religion, it's a different matter, but either way, I intend to have a sit-down discussion interview with him and see what he actually has to say in a more formal environment. I really feel passionate about the internet, I really do, and I think I have so many discussions with people about the internet, and it looks like what you talk about to them goes completely and utterly over their head, even though, in fact, it's the most simplest thing. It's like, have you ever heard of TPP? Do you know about what SOPA was trying to do? Are you aware of the government gateway system? And they look at you like, you got fucking two heads or something. They look at you like, nah, you're talking crazy shit. And when you show them something, they're like, how can they be doing this? Well, you fucking allowed it, that's why they're doing this shit. Plus they want to block your access to Pirate Bay. Now, in terms of free speech, the internet really is the last vestige of free speech. The frontier where anyone and everyone can put your opinions up and anyone and everyone can view them. Although, of course, not everyone wants you to view them. And this really is where the argument starts. Let's tell you that the date is February the 11th, 2014. The likes of Mozilla, the works of Reddit, are going to be closing shop on the internet. Now, if you remember, this happened before. This really did. This happened back in 2012 when there was Pippa, there was SOPA doing the shoutbacks, the kind of damage that they were going to cause to the internet should they have been granted. Now let's talk about this. So on February the 11th, there's going to be a coalition of the internet involving loads of different organisations and they're going to be protesting about the massive electronic surveillance that is being done by the likes of the NSA, by GCHQ, various governments. Now the protest was announced, and it was the anniversary of Aaron Swartz's suicide, and it's going to be dedicated to his memory. He was an activist who took his life last year, and he was prosecuted for allegedly downloading a large number of journalism articles, which charges that were going to land him in jail for 35 years. Now, if Aaron was alive, he would be on the front lines fighting against a world which governments collect, observe, and analyse every digital action, the Protest Coordination website has said. So yeah, this is similar to what happened with Pippa, what happened with SOPA back in 2012. It's going to be a brand new day of action and aiming to raise public awareness of the government's surveillance of us. And also it's pressuring US lawmakers to act against it. Unfortunately, those lawmakers are working for the very same people who will benefit from this greatly. But this time, there's a lot more awareness about this. More people on the internet are aware of this stuff. I mean, you've got the Electronics Frontier Foundation, Mozilla Foundation, Reddit, and many more, including many users. This is different. Many users are coming together online and offline to protest about this unconstitutional, in terms of US NSA, on this, this surveillance program, this surveillance operation against anyone and everyone, just to gather big data about us. When you break it down, when you get it down to the balls, it's profiling. They want to know who you are, why you're there, what you're doing, where are you going, what are you looking at. If it's not what they agree with, you ain't seeing it. If you like the internet, if you love the internet, if you even use the internet, go to the Electronic Frontier Foundation website, find out more about this, and tell as many people as you can and the reasons why they should care about this. Here's a story you probably have already seen and already looked at and already just looked at in disgust. And that is how the wealthiest 85 people in the world have as much as the poorest 3.5 billion people in the world. That should make you sick in itself. That should really be a headline. In fact, it is a headline. Loads of newspapers are reporting on this. But they're actually missing one very important question. And do you know what that question is? Well, in fact, let me come to it. Let me delve into this, and then hopefully the question will reveal itself. So, we're talking here about a tiny elite group of multi-billionaires who have piled up, fortunes equivalent to the world's wealth. I mean, that's just fucking crazy, right? That really is. And you got times now where you have like social unrest happening. Fucking most people are dying because they don't have like any money to buy food. It's not that the food isn't available. It's not the services aren't available. Most people can't fucking afford them. So you got this massive concentration of economic resources in the hands of a few people. And these few people get together. They're best friends. They're members of these elite clubs and shit. These people work together to achieve their aims together. But, and this is where my question comes in, is now whether you look at a conspiratorial website, whether you're looking in the Financial Times, whether you're looking on an economics forum paper, graduate paper, or whether you are looking at who the fuck rules the world, there's two families that are very prominently written about because they are so damn rich. Those families own the Bank of England, they own all the other banks in the world, and the Federal Reserve, Rothschild Corporation, the Rockefellers, and so on. Why are those names not on this list when they, I guarantee, well, maybe not guarantee, but I certainly would firmly believe that their money would greatly dwarf that of anybody on this list by a huge, huge margin. Why are they not on this list? Well, it might be that the Federal Reserve has never actually been audited, and therefore the amount of money that's in there, no one actually really knows. Apart from them, of course, and they don't want to tell anybody. What happened to all that German gold, by the way? Anyway, different question. When I was growing up, I was always amazed by the United States. It's places just like England. They all speak English. Everything's so much bigger. Everything's like England, but bigger, right? The space program, you have NASA going on, you have this big government, you have all this space, all this land, these beautiful, beautiful landscapes and so on. You have the Grand Canyon, these amazing forests and so on. I was told America was incredibly big. I was told that, in fact, if you want to become anyone, in fact, if you're in the media, of course, every media you ever do, you're encouraged to go to America, to break it big in America. But of course, America has this dark underbelly, doesn't it? You can't help but notice it, certainly in the alternative media, in the indie news, and obviously anyone looking at the conspiratorial side of things as well. Those who've had an interest in world affairs, politics, you know how dark and disturbing this place really is. But this one possibly chills me a little bit more than most. Now, I actually read this story about 3 years ago on a website called ATS, and it's about a constitution-free zone that is a 100-mile border on the inland border of America and Alaska, where they've declared that the Constitution does not apply. Yeah, absolutely. There's a judge here, his name is District Judge Edward Corman, a US federal judge. He is a affirmed administrator of Obama's policy, granting officials the authority to search Americans' laptops and details, and citing a controversial premise that makes citizens within 100 miles of the border eligible for checks, search and seizure. So he says he's made his ruling on Tuesday, after more than 3 years, after the American Civil Liberties Union filed suit, which is when I first saw this story before. The ACLU claimed that since Americans put so much of their lives on computers, cell phones and now other devices, border officials should have more than reasonable suspicion before sifting through someone's personal files. Attorneys for them have argued that searches conducted without reasonable suspicion is a violation of the Fourth Amendment and thus breaking the Constitution on which they are protected by. And we're now seeing this situation over there where you have the government can conduct intrusive searches on any American, or in fact anyone else who's over there within 100 miles of the coast, really, that you can be, have everything checked and without any suspicion, without even any acknowledgement of any doing any wrongdoing. I mean, suspicionless searches of devices containing vast amounts of information. I mean, obviously, I'm no expert in the US Constitution and so on, but I think this would really offend me if I was American, or anyone over there, if I was travelling over there. I think this message really needs to get out there. People need to know about this. But unfortunately, these searches are part of a broader pattern of very aggressive government surveillance and tactics that are being used against the people over there, not least of the NSA and so on, where they're collecting so much information on innocent people. And we're talking about anything and everything. The question is, why are they gathering it? Why are they gathering everything? I guess, unfortunately, most people want to bury their heads in the sand or turn on Oprah Winfrey, if that's the kind of thing they still watch over there. I don't know. But, unfortunately. I mean, the story came by my inbox. Actually, I got tagged in a post by a guy called Steve Foley. He's a former US Marine, and he is the creator of a network not that dissimilar from UK Collapse Radio Network, and not that dissimilar from the likes of InfoWars and UK Crime and so on, but a US one called the Minority Report Network. So it's worth just obviously having a look at what they have to say, because of course they're reporting the same kind of stuff that we are, but from a US perspective. So I'm going to ask you another question now. Did you go and search out that term called dropout Jeep? There's one word, dropout Jeep. I really hope you did. Especially if you're an Apple user, particularly if you're an Apple iPhone user. You will find this very, very interesting because, well, let me explain what this is. And I will post a picture on the website, that Rabbit Hole is Reality, under post episode 18. It's actually an interesting piece of software. This is developed by the NSA, the National Security Agency. That spy agency, what literally is seeking to gather every piece of data upon you. So, Dropout Jeep, it allows it not only to monitor, but it allows it to actually control the features of your iPhone, including turning on and turning off of your geolocation, your text messaging system, your microphone, and your camera. And that way, the NSA knows not only who you're talking to, but where you are and what you're talking about. The documentation was leaked a couple of weeks ago, and what it does, how it does it, the data system, the profiles, and the presentation was all leaked. So it's definitely worth looking at this. And in fact, I'll read actually what it says from the slide itself. This is Dropout Jeep Operation Schematic. There's 6 boxes, of course, how it transfers memory and information around in a module. Now, Dropout Jeep is a software implant for an Apple iPhone that uses modular mission applications to provide specific signet functionality. This functionality includes the ability to remotely control, push and pull files from the device, SMS retrieval, contactless retrieval, voicemail, geolocation, hot micing, which is basically the ability to turn on your microphone and listen live, picture capture, cell tower location, command control, data exfiltration that can occur over SMS messaging or GPRS data connection. All communications with an implant will be converted and encrypted by NSA. Yeah, so if you're an iPhone user, which a lot of people are, in fact, a lot of people have iPhones, it's worth looking at this, because Dropout Jeep appears to be in your very hardware of your phone. And have you noticed also how new phones are having a new problem? I say a new problem because they don't allow us to get to the battery. That means the device is always on, because it can't be turned off. Effectively, you're putting it, I guess you can put it into the sleep mode, and there's, when you power it off, you kind of put it into a hard sleep mode. However, the device actually is still fully powered and is on, and it's recording data and sending and transmitting and Wi-Fi signals and so on. It's a smartphone for a reason. It's a smart device, a word that big business and big data collection services are liking to use these days. It's all about big and smart. It isn't big and smart when you can't remove your battery from your phone. On a related story, in fact, I had to send I've got a Galaxy S3. I've had it about like a year now, and unfortunately, for some reason, the screen stopped working about a month ago. The screen mesh 3/4 of the way down has a green line that goes all the way across the screen. Phone works fine, it lights up fine, all the lights and the toots and the whistles come on, but there's just no picture, unless I can't log in or do anything with it. So currently it's a brick. When they requested my IMEI number, of course I can't use the phone, I can't type in asterisk hash 06 hash to bring up my IMEI number. However, of course, I rang them up and I said, well, how can I get this? And they said, oh, it's located behind the battery inside the phone. Oh, okay, so I opened the back up and put the battery on my table while writing the IMEI number out and filling in the form. It's at this point I noticed that the battery itself has an interesting message on the back. And again, I'll put a picture on the rabbithole.reality.co.uk website where you also can see this as well. On the battery, it actually says the battery has near field communication ability. So the battery actually is also transmitting data. It's also receiving information itself, separate to the functionality of the phone, separate from the Android device or whatever phone you have. The battery also is transmitting and receiving information of near field. Which just like, you what? Why? But then of course I realise it's all again about big data collection, isn't it? Communicating with everything from your fridge to your smart cookies and your smart TV, that kind of information network's being set up invisibly around you. You know, Big Brother isn't coming to your front door to knock on it to say, here comes democracy. It's already in your house. It's already in most of your devices. And unfortunately, most people don't know. Or they do know and they actually want it. Well, it's been sold as sexy, isn't it? Of course people will want it. Do you feel, and do you believe, that in the UK we currently have press freedom? Go on, what do you think? Do you think we currently have press freedom? Do you want press freedom? Do you think that the press is being controlled too much? Do you think that the press is being controlled and leaned on towards certain political ideologies, or certain, ideologies that say a corporation wants to put across? Of course, because a lot of the news media in this country is controlled by said corporations. How do you feel? Does it bother you, perhaps, that the newspapers aren't reporting on the stories that you actually feel are important that should be covered? A good example will be the likes of the Manchester NHS protest that was not covered by the BBC at all, despite the fact that there were 60,000 people there. The likes of the firefighters strikes as well. This was not covered by a number of press outlets at all. Why is that? So do we or do we not have press freedom in this country? You have the likes of the Leveson inquiry, the likes of the what's come out of that in terms of the government control and the position that a number of press areas have found themselves under. Well, it just so happens that news publishers, the World Association of Newspapers and News Publishers, IWAN-IFRA as they're called, begins today. This is, in fact, representatives of an organisation who are holding a series of meetings in London to investigate the British government's actions in relating to newspaper regulation and the handling of state surveillance. Among the people expected to be interviewed at the 3-day mission is the Culture Secretary Maria Miller, the Guardian's editor Alan Rusberger, and also John Whittingale. He is the Culture Select Committee Chairman. The delegation led by the World Association of Newspapers Chief Executive, his name is Vincent Peregrine. Now this actually came around due to the UN having a look in, and they're sending delegations from Brazil to come to the UK to see how we do the newspapers. Now in the World Association of Newspapers press release, Peregrine is quoted as saying the organisation's membership is deeply concerned about British authorities' treatment of the profession of journalism and its attempt to control public debate. Now, in the government's actions, there are far-reaching consequences across the globe, even the Commonwealth, really, he continued. What do you think about the control that there actually is? Now, I'll actually read a quote from him himself. Any threats to the independence of journalism in Britain could be used by oppressive regimes worldwide to justify their own controls over the press. We will endeavour to investigate all elements that threaten the British United Kingdom's position as a bastion of free and independent media with the same rigour as we have approached other international press freedom hotspots in nearly 70 years of defending the freedom of expression worldwide. This includes Denmark, Norway, Finland, Canada, the USA and Pakistan. And they're also pushing into countries such as Ethiopia, South Africa, Libya, Yemen, Tunisia, Mexico, Honduras, Ecuador and many, many more. But this is their first mission to the United Kingdom. So does it therefore put the United Kingdom in that group as well, which includes also the likes of Azerbaijan, the Ukraine and Burma, Ecuador, Honduras, countries they're corrupt at their core, only not by the people, but by the people who, of course, who are in elevated positions of power, those who control the people, and those who want a certain vision put out there. For the UK to find it also itself in that kind of circle, I think it's very worrying. But we are also seeing in the UK certainly such a push, such an expansion on the internet, where we're seeing citizen journalism taking front foot. We're seeing, in fact, if you look on any news site these days, even the ones on the main news, if you look at like Sky, BBC, even This Morning Health, did I even mention This Morning? They're all reporting on people's tweets. Because, of course, that's where the real news is happening. That's where the real questions are being asked. They're being asked outside of the scope of organisations' controls. They're being asked into the wider realm. They're being asked out into the public. This is happening. Why is this happening? In fact, a good example is today I wrote a tweet to Number 10 asking him why we do not have an interest-free currency printed by the government in the UK. I also tagged in that the BBC and RT News have yet to actually receive a reply. But I know the BBC and I know that RT has seen that. I know that the PMs, at least as Minister of Assistance, have seen that. They might even go as far as ask the same question. Why do we not have an interest-free currency in the UK? That's my opinion. I've put it out there. Hopefully those organisations will have a look at it. Because I can ask that question currently. Currently we're not oppressed to the point where we can't say these things. But is it therefore? Is it that what we're seeing? How we have such control over our media? But is that the reason why we're having such control over the internet? Is because that is our vestige, that is our frontier space where we can say these things. Because they're such interconnected, they're so intertwined, they're so in bed with each other that one will directly affect the other. I mean, literally, like in this very conversation, we've gone from seeing how the press and the internet are so interlinked now, and one will directly affect the other. So, are we looking forward to seeing what the UK report is on this? And it's hoped to be published in February by the World Association of the World Association of Newspapers and News Publishers. I mean, it depends on how deep they're going to go. I really hope it is deep, and I really hope it actually generates a lot of conversation. Now, sometime here in early 2014, you are going to receive a leaflet in the mail, and that is, it's going to be entitled "Better Information Means Better Care." It's been sent to you from the NHS. It's been sent to everyone in the UK. Now, it's not very clear from the leaflet that a very, very, very significant change is going to happen to the way your medical records are being handled by the government, or rather by the NHS. Now, NHS England, which is the commissioning body which now runs the NHS in England, has decided not to include an opt-out form with the leaflet. And the information in it says you should just speak to your GP practice. That's it. That's completely misleading. Now, here's the important thing. Now, I'm going to read this to you. This is from a website called medconfidential.org. It's a very important website. It's a very straightforward, clear speaking. This is what they're doing. This is how to do it. This is how to keep it safe. This is how to keep it secure. And I highly recommend you come by and have a look. And that is medconfidential.org. And what it is, I'll actually read some of the information that is on here and keep you guys informed in the loop. So, this is a deliberate mail being sent to you, obviously from the government, from the NHS rather, and to how your medical records are now being held. So what's changing is, under changes of legislation, your GP will be required to upload personal and identifiable information from your medical record of every patient in England to the central servers of the Health and Social Care Administration Centre. And once this happens, the information will leave your GP practice. Your doctor will no longer have control of the data that has been passed on and to whom. This information will include all diagnoses, investigations, treatments, referrals, as well as all other things that you will have shared with your doctor, including your weight, your alcohol consumption, your smoking, your family history. Every piece of information that will make you identifiable will be uploaded to the NHS. Your date of birth, your postcode, your gender, your ethnicity, and more. NHS England, the body now in charge of commissioned primary care services across England, will manage and use the information extracted by the Health and Social Care Information Centre for a range of purposes, none of which have anything to do with your medical care. Through the official leaflets, they talk a great deal about research and secondary uses for your data. This includes patient tracking, monitoring and auditing purposes, as well as contract management with third-party companies. In September 2013, NHS England applied for a pass on your information in a form it admits will be considered identifiable if published, to a whole range of organisations that include, but is not limited to, research bodies, universities, think tanks, information intermediaries, charities, private companies and insurance companies. That's right, they're going to be selling your data to insurance companies. So how much your premium is going to go up if you potentially have a condition based, say, on data collected of a certain type of characteristic. I don't know, more people with blue eyes might have this medical condition, so because therefore they know that you have that, they might not give you health insurance. That's a very opt example, but that is the kind of thing they're going to be bringing it down to. Although you were told that any data passed on will be anonymized, no guarantees can be given as to its future re-identification of you. Indeed, information is to be treated so that it can be linked to any other data at patient level. NHS England has already been given legal exemptions to pass identifiable data across a range of processing centres, local area teams and commissioning bodies, which came into force on April the 1st, 2013. The Health and Social Care Information Centre already has access to patient data in an identifiable form to a range of customers who are outside of the NHS, including private companies and corporations. That's right, they're selling you in your data and your medical data. That has to stop, right? There is an opt-out process and you can do it, and this is why we're talking about it right here or right now. There is an opt-out form. You don't have to go to your doctors. Of course, if you make an appointment with your doctors, potentially you're actually going to be wasting the GP's time. You're going to be wasting someone's time when someone needing to see a doctor is there. So this is what you need to do. On this website, medconfidential.org, you can download a PDF, you can download it as a doc, download it as an ODT, and send it as a letter to your GP. In fact, Neil Bhatia, a Hampshire GP, has written a leaflet with a tear-off form that you can use yourself, your children, and anyone under your enduring power of attorney. And all you do, it takes them a few moments to print it off. So obviously, for your friends, your family, send them a link as well, and you can print it off and you can send it to your GP and tell them you are opting out of this data transfer of your private medical information. So yeah, please get involved. Please learn about this. This is something that is very important to the likes of, in terms of conspiratorial sense, Agenda 21, the decentralization of data. This is something that a lot of people will be very uncomfortable with, and I completely understand that as well. So this is all you need to do. Come to medconfidential.org. The links will be below on the website. They will be on the rabbit hole that is reality.co.uk. I strongly urge you to come and have a look at this. This will affect every person in the UK, and this is something that you have to take ownership of this. This is something very easy. It's a Word document form, it's a PDF or a rich text document or an ODT. Print it off, send it to your doctors. Job's a good one. That's all you have to do. All you have to do. So opt out of your data being sold. Okay, what's next? Well, we're coming up on about the 30-minute mark now, so it's an ideal time to pause, to take a break, to take it all in. So go get yourself a brew, go put your kettle on, get yourself a coffee, get yourself a cookie as well, have a drink, have a relax, and we will see you on the other side, where we're going to be talking about things that people should be doing to improve their relationship with each other, and also we're going to be looking at ancient sites and monuments and 14 stories that are going to make you cringe, are going to make you laugh, are going to make you smile. All this coming up on the other side of the rabbit hole that is reality. So come on, send me a tweet at @DefineKristian. Tell me what you're up to tonight, tell me what you've been up to while I'm eating my cookie, and I'll see you on the other side of the break. See you soon.
There is just one other thing that I can say about creativity. There are certain conditions which do make it more likely that you'll get into the open mode and that something creative will occur. More likely. You can't guarantee anything will occur. You might sit around for hours, as I did last Tuesday, and nothing. Zilch. Butt kiss. Not a sausage. Nevertheless, I can at least tell you how to get yourselves into the open mode. You need 5 things. 1, space. 2, time. 3, time. 4, confidence. And 5, a 22-inch waist. Sorry, my mind was wandering. I'm getting into the open mode too quickly. Instead of a 22-inch waist, read humour.
The rabbit hole that is reality. Across the spectrum of topical talk, news that raises an eyebrow, science, technology, the environment, mysteries, strange tales, and the footy that is both informative and entertaining. As you spread our wings and catch our stride, you can find us now on the web, rabbithole.isreality.co.uk, where you can listen, download, and watch all the episodes produced so far. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/rabbithole.isreality, or follow the presenters on Twitter at @DefineChristian and at Sylvia Dragoon for commentary, insight, and conversation. This is the Rabbit Hole that is reality. Welcome back to the Rabbit Hole that is reality. I'm your host here tonight. My name is Kristian, and thank you for joining us once again. Sylvia's not here tonight. Sylvia is actually watching The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug in IMAX 3D with a couple of my friends, and I'm here recording Rabbit Hole that is reality. So I hope you've appreciated that I've stayed in to record this episode, especially for you guys. The thing is, though, I've actually already seen it. I saw it a couple of weeks ago with Joe. But the thing is, though, Sylvia and my friends don't know this. Oh. Anyway, so here we are. This is here we are on the other side. I spoke of it earlier at the beginning of the show, and it's something I really wanted to delve into a little deeper than most articles, and it's about isms and belief structures and ideologies that people have. And here, in today's society, we have a rather interesting point of view. We have what can only be described as hipster Marxism coming into being. Let me give you a bit of a background on what I mean by hipster Marxism. Hipster obviously being that kind of trendy kind of thing that everyone likes to do nowadays because it's trendy. Marxism, of course, being a system by Karl Marx. Now, if you remember last year, there was the Daily Mail got mauled, in fact. The late Ralph Miliband, who's dad, of course, of Ed Miliband, back in 2013, telling those who didn't know that Ed's dad was a Marxist, and it didn't go down well at all. And not because people didn't like to see the dead slagged off or anything like that. It is in fact because Marxism is becoming trendy again. Bizarre, isn't it? Yeah, the big ideologies of the 20th century, including Marxism, are kind of shadows of their former selves, really. Now we find ourselves in 2014. I think we're seeing the rise of hipster Marxism. In fact, I was in the market in Victoria Centre, which is Nottingham. There was T-shirts, with Marx is Right. And there's a new musical coming out as well. It's called Come Back, Karl Marx the Musical. And that's currently running over in Germany. Sales of a book over there called Das Kapital, which is, of course, Karl Marx's book, was soared in the last 5 years during the recession. Isn't that interesting? So I have to think that the hipster Marxism is less of a theory, really. It's more of an ideological revolution. It's like a badge of radicalism that is being worn by those, like many, who are feeling cut off from the mainstream. It's an interesting point of view. If you look at, say, the Financial Times in the last, say, few years, you'll find that they wrote an article. And since 2005, there's actually been less people having strikes at their workplace than ever before. In fact, there were some figures to go with that. Let me just tell you what they are. Only 248,000 work days were lost last year, in 2013, compared to 1.9 million in 2011 and 29 million in 1979, when Thatcher came to power. So we now have a culture where, despite the fact that the growing poverty, the growing situations, the less work there is out there, there's actually less striking. There's people who are less marching, there's less protest. People are more than willing to take on, the system that is fucking us so hard. And so an interest in Karl Marx's ideologies are actually coming around to be. Let me tell you something also about, if you go on the Labour website, and you will find under their ideologies and their profiles and what they want to create for the goal of society, it's a system as proposed by Saul Alinsky, who in fact was a proponent of Karl Marx's idea of Marxism. Also, if you go over to the Conservative website, you'll also find the person who they wish to base their society on in their endgame is Saul Alinsky. What this means is the left and right paradigm of the two political parties of vying for control in the UK actually both describe to exactly the same system. Anyone who's been following the stories of Common Purpose, and anyone who's been following those lines of investigation will already be well aware of the link of Saul Alinsky, Karl Marx, and Common Purpose. So when we're talking about the big changes, have you seen that term everywhere? Everywhere it's talking about changes. How can we have changes? All the documentation, changes and changes. Big society, big changes. Change is by definition, it's not something that happens instantly. It's actually a gradual process. And we're seeing this gradual process coming into fruition. This is part of the big society. The big society structure, whether you're on the right, whether you're on the left, the truth is there is no real right and left. They're actually completely together on this. This is just a duality playing out for our public spectacle. Continuing the illusion of choice, that there is differences between them. There's no differences. Look at the US system. You have the Democrats and you have the Republicans. They're two sides of the same coin. You have that effectively here as well. It's the same system. Essentially, you give people the illusion of choice. So it's like, we sided with these this time. Oh no, we're going to side with these this time. The truth is, it's an illusion of choice. There is no real choice. What your choice is irrelevant. What their plan is, what their changes for society, is the plan set forth by Soloninsky and as such by Karl Marx. Links to that information is in the description below. You'll also find it on the website, that rabbit hole that is reality.co.uk. You'll also find links to the information regarding common purpose as well, and links to the Conservative and Labour pages where it does state this. I'll tell you what, guys, there's something I can actually share with you, in fact. Over the last few weeks, I've been putting pen to paper, or indeed keys to screen, or fingers to keys to type on the screen. Anyway, I've been writing a book, and it doesn't have a name yet, actually, but it's an adventure. It's a fantasy of a supernatural kind, and perhaps if you guys can have a look, I've got the prologue and the first chapter up on Facebook, and I'll actually post a link so you can download it and have a look at the document on the likes of Dropbox and also on Google Drive. You can have a view of it if you like, and let me know what you think. And I'd share a bit of the story with you, in fact, whether you want to go and have a look. It's set in 1898, so it's Victorian times. You know, we're talking about the height of the British Empire when it ruled most of the world. The main character has watched the world change into this industrial civilization, industrial city, now full of slums and down and outs and so on. But what's happening across London is there's a number of disappearances. Not of the Jack the Ripper murder kind, but people are actually just disappearing completely, utterly. And he goes on an investigation off his own back to discover what's happening, why they're happening, and how these people are managing to escape what are effectively impossible scenarios, which is it's being chased by a group of policemen or by a witness, and it turns a corner only to be confronted by a brick wall and the people are gone. The story of the investigation takes him to Denmark, to Germany, to Hamburg, to Bremerhaven, and so on. So it's all a kind of have a strong character-driven narrative from a first-person perspective, where obviously he's got an investigation and it's developing, and then it's incorporated elements also of mythology and of Norse mythology in particular. Where the story goes is well, spoilers. I can't tell you. You have to go and read the first couple of chapters. I would really like and appreciate your feedback. So I'll post a couple of links below this in terms of the YouTube video and obviously on the website. So please come and have a look. I would really appreciate your feedback into doing this, because it's actually really good to have something outside of the collapse. You know, I'm not saying it's the real world and there's the collapse world and there's the conspiracy world and there's all these different worlds. And actually, that doesn't exist. It's all one reality. We're all in one, and we're all in it together. So if we can help each other, support each other, that's exactly what we're all after. Artists, musicians, you know, writers, journalists, whatever. Let's all do something together. I'm just doing this as my little creative piece, and you know, please let me know what you think. I'd appreciate it. One key aspect I was looking at is how people help each other, and I started making me think about how we deal with our relationships on a day-to-day basis with people we know, people we care for, people we look after, just the people we kind of see on a day-to-day basis, and also people we don't know. So I started writing kind of a bucket list. Not really, that's an unfair way to put it. Bucket list is that you want to do. It's a number of things you can do in our relationships and the way that we forge and communicate with each other that actually can help each other. I mean, a lot of this is common sense. Don't get me wrong, it's sucking eggs kind of stuff, right? They're important things. The subtleties that perhaps that we've forgotten. I mean, I wanted to find and foster good relationships. It's to free yourself, first of all, from negative people. You know, find people who are smart, who are driven, who are like-minded, people who have a relationship, who are there to help you, not hurt you. Surround yourself with people who reflect the person you want to be. You know, choose and work with friends who you're proud to know, people you admire, people who you love and you respect. That person, when you see them, actually makes your day a little brighter, and smile because of it. Life's too short to spend time with people who suck you down and suck the fucking life out of you. You don't want to be people like that. You want to talk with people who respect you for being you. So free yourself from negative people. I mean, how about giving people you don't know a chance? Sometimes you look at people and you've already decided they have a story. And sometimes that story is very different. Everyone knows of the quite famous story of the punk kind of guy. He was dressed in his leathers and his metal stuff and his punk hair. And then there was a person walking up and they got afraid of them because of who they were. And then they saw someone collapse and they both went over and helped him. So it doesn't matter how they dress or how they look. It really is that we're all human. So know this. There's no ordinary way to meet people. But there's also, if you give everyone a fair chance, everyone has something they can offer. And I think if so appreciate the possibility of new relationships and naturally let go of the older ones. The ones that don't work. Trust your instinct, go with your judgment, embrace new relationships. Especially when you enter in unfamiliar territory. And I think the other one is like showing everyone kindness and respect. Treat everyone with the kindness and respect, even those who are rude to you perhaps. Those that aren't nice, because it's about how you are. There's no boundaries or classes, I don't think. And to treat everyone on the same level of respect that, say, you would your grandfather, or the same level of patience. And believe me, working in a supermarket, you meet every kind of fucking person. Some horrible people, some lovely people, some nice people, some kind people. But generally, that cock, that arsehole you're going to speak to for 5 seconds is going to be gone. Meanwhile, the next person actually is a nice person who actually might have something to say. We're always going to get critics, we're always going to get those who put us down. But you know what? So what? That'll be gone in a few minutes. I think also accepting people for who they are. There's this perception, particularly from women, and I think actually it's something quite maternal, I think, in many ladies, and that is, they want to change you. You hear many stories of like, oh, I think I can change him, he's a bit of a rough boy, I think I can change him to be a nice person, or I think he's a bit of a rude boy and I think I can calm him down. The truth is, you can't change anybody really. You can assist them to make better decisions and better choices about themselves, which may bring around a change in their overall outlook, which is really good to do. But don't force that change on other people. Give them support and lead by example. I think is the best way that you can lead a change and accept the person the way they are. I think another important thing is to encourage others and to cheer for them, give them appreciation, give them support. Take them to good places, to be productive, to cheer for success. And I think that was one of the things perhaps in the Zeitgeist movement back when it was really gaining its attraction. There wasn't many cheers for our successes. What did we do? What was actually really good? What did we achieve? What was our successes? Because that's the way you encourage other people. You don't say, my God, this is how the big, red, white and blue dick is fucking us. It's a case of, well, you know what? This is what we're doing. This is how we're succeeding against with a big blue, white and red dick that's fucking us in the ass. I've got a big flail in my hand and I've just cut it off. That kind of thing. Be encouraging. Be thankful of a bit of encouragement. Be reciprocal and send it back. I also think forgiving people is quite an important point as well. Even in families, in my own family, I have to say, I struggle with some people. I really don't. I guess a lot of people do as well. There are those people who just can't seem to let go of something that happened so long ago. I set a good example. In fact, I'll give you a prime example of this. Is that the mother of my children and we broke up 12, 13 years ago now. I'm generally who I am. I'm generally quite a nice guy, I think I am anyway. And I do the best by people. And I always go out of my way to help people, should they ever ask it. Unfortunately, in my earlier days, I guess, myself and my partner at the time, we didn't see eye to eye We had a lot of arguments, a lot of frustrations. I mean, perhaps it wasn't for us. We had children too early. Those kind of things, put huge, pressure on life. And but she's still, to this day, she's ever so spiteful. She really is. I mean, every conversation is still with that bite, with that anger, with that frustration. I still have difficulty communicating with the children because of that, and just trying to get things organised. It's just nigh and impossible. But I've completely forgiven. I mean, she left me for someone else. She moved on. It was fine. It hurt her for a while, but it's okay because she's happy now with him. That's fine. I can accept that. I've moved on in my own relationship, and I believe I'm a better person because of that. Because I chose not to forgive, but just to accept and to move forward and to understand. People need to make these kind of decisions in their life. Unfortunately, not everyone does. And I also think there's those little things that you could do every day that help somebody. Just that little thing, Whether it's that thing going to the supermarket, you see an old lady just struggling with a bag. It's, let me help you to the door. It's not a problem. You just look in their eye that there's actually people out there who are still a gentleman in that sense. Or you just open the door for a person. Or you just help them, just in a discussion, or you just have the time to listen to them just for a moment. And they realise there actually are good people out there. And they realise that that'll also become infectious to other people. Brilliant. I think something we all struggle with is we all struggle to stay in touch with each other. Because we have so much going on. Stay in touch with those perhaps we've missed. There's people who, I really want to get in contact with school. And I'm sure, if I really got down to it, I probably could go and do so. And the fact I've just said that, probably means tonight I will do that. And why not? They're better be out there on Facebook, right? Go find them, go have a look, have a chat with them, ask them how they are. Well, that cousin, you haven't seen in about 4 or 5 years, want to give them a message. Ask them how they are. Send someone a letter. Talking a little less, listening a little more. Kind of going with the flow a bit better. Sometimes the least advice, they say, is the best advice. People don't want advice. Sometimes they just want positive reinforcement. And I think that's a really good way to work it, Some people just want the space and the time to think, to be in the moment and continue to explore their journey. That will eventually help them find their own direction. Every moment, everything you do, is actually someone else's inspiration. Okay, I'm beginning to sound like the sunscreen song, so I'm going to stop. But they're the kind of things I've been writing down over the past few weeks, things that remind us who we are and the kind of people we connect with. So, I mean, maybe you learned something from it, maybe you fast-forwarded past that bit, maybe you just paused it. I don't know, I don't mind. It's up to you what you do. Now, across our planet, across our world, the planet Earth, our location, the only place in the universe, and we know that life actually exists for sure, because we're here. As much as we're destroying it at an ever-increasing rate in a perpetual state of, consumerism, we have a key number of locations across the planet that are absolutely fascinating. They have the strangest things that have occurred there, historical reasons, or they're just plain mysteries. Things like Easter Island, Machu Picchu, the pyramids of Giza, and so on. Well, there's another interesting mystery that's come up in recent weeks. It's something I looked at about a year ago, and I was on a website that I frequent quite often, ATS, and I found someone else has also posted something very similar. I've taken it to a bigger degree than I did. It's called the mystery of the alternative equator. The Earth, of course, has a tilt. It's called the precession of the equinox. It's basically where the Earth tilts at around about 12 degrees and tips back and forth over a period of around 12,000 years. Well, it's 10,500 years, I think it is. And it appears to go through a slight wobble, as it's called. It creates a rather interesting view of the stars and the sky, and many ancient sites line up to places in the sky. Well, what if I was to describe that there is a band that goes around the Earth, where a large number of the world's most sacred sites line up perfectly around the circumference of the Earth? Now, the equator we currently have, of course, goes across Central America, goes across the Sahara, and obviously all the way around the Earth. It's the halfway point of the Earth, where obviously the sun gets most of its light comes down to, and general tropical conditions or desert conditions occur. Because we know that the Earth has indeed, it's changed, it's gone through a pole shift, it's gone through movements in space due to solar conditioning of the sun, the galactic effect on the planet, and the way that the Earth moves in its own molten core on the inside. If you look at some of the geology archives, in the sense of how they described how the Earth once, in fact, it was just one landmass. What was it called? Pangea. That was it, Pangea. So what that means is the Earth doesn't stay in one state or one position. The Earth is certainly always in a state of change. Well, it certainly appears that a large number of the sacred sites around the Earth, and I'll give you some examples from Easter Island, Machu Picchu, Nazca Lines, the Giza Plateau in Egypt, Petra, Parapolis, Mohenjo-Daro in India, and many, many more. They all are on a straight line around the Earth, around the Earth's widest circumference. But, of course, it would mean that the Earth had a very different equator at that time. But these are around the Earth's widest circumference. Of course, it's slightly offset. So, based on this observation, I kind of wonder the location of these sites is really coincidental. I mean, you have to admit there's some other important sites like Baalbek and Stonehenge and stuff that aren't on that isle, that aren't on that line, along the alternative equator. However, the most famous ones, the monuments, that are almost perfectly aligned over that vast distance are. But it's quite incredible to consider that Mohenjo-Daro and Easter Island are exactly on the opposite side of the world to each other, yet they're two of the world's most ancient sacred sites. Coincidence? I don't know. But I'm interested to find out what other people have to say, and I'd really like your opinion on this. Is it strange that how a number of our ancient sites line up perfectly around an equator that used to exist? Intentional? Don't know. Your thoughts? Send me a tweet at Define Kristian here at Rabbit Hole That Is Reality. We'll have 214 stories here for you today. We're going to be running off this. For me, it's currently 12:15. I'm at work at 6 in the morning, but this has to get done and edited because I'm not going to have time tomorrow simply. So, how about the discovery of a 460-year-old British shilling found in British Columbia that is set to rewrite the early history of Canada? The discovery of a 16th century coin buried in clay in the Vancouver Island shoreline is rekindling an interest of a theory that British explorer Sir Francis Drake made a secret voyage to Canada's Pacific coast in 1579. That's right, 2 centuries before the Spanish did, and even British navigator James Cook made their famous first visits to British Columbia in the 1770s. There was a big proponent of this. I remember reading a book of 2006, but apparently the book came out in 2003. It was quite controversial at the time. He was a hobbyist, he was a Victorian metal detector, and his name is Samuel Bulff, and he wrote documentary evidence the fact that Drake may have actually reached the coast in 1579. This actually goes some way to proving that as well. He was ordered then by Queen Elizabeth I to hide the true extent northward to protect England's strategic interests in the New World. And there's some interest archaeology-wise who've been speaking about this as well. British Columbian Museum curator Grant Kennedy, he spoke to Post Media News regarding this as well. That he's made plans to actually examine the shilling himself, noting that this now makes 3 coins that have been found from the early 1500s along the British Columbia coast. And he's encouraged relic hunters to take a look at their own collections to see if they have anything else in this era. It's interesting is that the coin actually bears the mark of being produced in 1551, which is during the reign of King Edward VI, who was the son of Henry VIII, the half-brother of Elizabeth I, and it was found in December. So that's really cool stuff. It certainly goes some way to rewriting history, and history is always full of these little quirky things that go, "Wait, that's different." The way that history has recorded it is very, very different. Like when obviously Christopher Columbus, of course, is quite commonly quoted as being the first European to cross the Atlantic and discover the New World, and in fact, it's been found, archaeologically, that in fact the Vikings did that almost 300 years beforehand. Fantastic stuff. And we want to leave on a funny story, we always do. Something that just defies logic in a funny way, that kind of reminds us what reality is really all about, because reality really is the ultimate reality show, and people just have something really wrong with them in a really funny way. This story is about the Swiss cheese pervert. The Swiss cheese pervert, he's been held in custody. He's 41 years old. His name's Chris Pagano. He's been held up at a correctional facility, and the records show that has a bail level at $30,000. Now, he's charged with stalking, indecent exposure, and related offences, according to the police. The charges stem from 3 incidents going back in early January. Basically, what happened is he was allegedly approaching women. There's even a photograph with his genitals exposed, and he was asking them to perform sexual acts on him with a piece of Swiss cheese. I must stop biting knuckles. Apparently the lawyer has decided to decline to comment, but yeah, apparently he was approaching women on the street and was asking for sex acts with a piece of cheese. I don't even know how that works. I just don't know. Do the things even go together? I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. But apparently several women were approached, even on various websites. Apparently there's now people who want to know about this fetish in detail on Craigslist and dating websites as well. The fuck is wrong with people? The fuck is wrong with people? Anyway, this has been the Rabbit Hole That's Reality. My name is Kristian. Thank you for taking the time to join with us tonight. We hope we've engaged you. We hope we have informed you, we've inspired you, and we've left you smiling. So, thank you everyone, and good night.